Cynthia McCorkindale, 19 Elgin Avenue. So, first of all, I want to say to the chairman of the Board of Finance, through the moderator, that I understand why, I understand the logic behind it. I understand that the approach to paying cash rather than credit cards. But here's my concern. It occurs to me that through this whole budget process, I mean, we always talk about numbers, we talk about percentages, and yes, those all work out, but there are also people involved here. So the Board of Finance is, and I'm like this too, I don't put emotions into the process of the Board of Finance, but what I do take into consideration is the living conditions of people who are in the community. I've said it before that there are people, I would say that a lot of people are here tonight who can easily afford an increase. Not that they're wealthy, but it's just whatever it's going to rise is not going to make a difference. On the other hand, there are other parts of the community where this is a very serious problem. I mean, if you look around, you can just see, and it's not because people are lazy that they're not fixing their roofs. It's because they can't afford it. And my opinion, first of all, I support the motion, the amended motion, is that when you're looking at a culture of what this town has been doing, which is bonding, that you can't just switch to a cash deal. It just doesn't work. Plus, there's something else, the Board of Selectmen, and I'm just saying this as a point of reference, not any pro or con, that the turf field was added back to the capital plan. So at the same time you're going to pay cash for all the other capital projects, now you have another capital project that's $1 million. And I will only mention this in terms of, just to make a point, the police station is $900,000 over budget. So I just don't understand how we can, this whole confluence of events, that we can do implement this philosophy right now. I think it's just a bad time to do it. Connecticut is, I mean, there's a diaspora from Connecticut. People are fleeing Connecticut. That's what's going to happen in Bethel. And at some point, there will be, you know, it'll shake up the demographic, and maybe you'll have, you know, won't have as many, you know, I don't know, less people with as much resources as other people have. But they're part of the community too. And I believe that they need to be taken into consideration. Not necessarily just through the senior center or social services. That's great. But I mean, as people just living in Bethel.
Denise Foster, 26 Jacobs Lane. I just want to point out.
Can you tilt it up and speak?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Cynthia makes a good point. There are people in our town who are struggling. I think we should all be sensitive and aware of that and try to help with that as much as we can. There are programs to help with that for seniors and disabled people in our town, just so everyone knows if anyone's in that situation, they should seek out that program and try to see if they can be helped through that program. I do also want to make the point, though, that all of the items that Bob Manfredi just mentioned were originally in the capital budget. They were seen as priorities by the selectmen, if I'm not mistaken. And we simply, as a Board of Finance, moved them over to pay for them for cash in the operating budget. We currently have $10.5 million of short-term debt. We pay roughly $200,000 a year for that in interest debt payment. We could have paid for a turf field, not to bring that up at this point, but we could have paid for that over the last 10 years twice if we didn't have that short-term debt to pay for. So, with an additional 16 cents per $1,000 in our mill rate, an additional 16 cents, we get the items that are needed to not have a leaky highway department building, have the codfish culvert done for safety purposes, have additional highway department trucks that we need, water main replacement Fire department, I believe they're oxygen bottles for when they need to go into dangerous places that are smoke-filled, and have the generator replaced with a fire tower to enable emergency communication, which means cell phones when our electricity goes out. 16 cents per 1,000 in home value. Thank you.
Anyone else to speak to this motion?
Brian Terzian, 42 Long Meadow Lane. I just want to start off by saying, I think we all agree that we want what's best for our town. I don't think anyone, whether they support this budget or they don't support this budget,
Brian, speak into the mic.
don't have Bethel's, best interests at heart. I think what's missing from the equation here is a few things. I understand why the board voted the way they did. I was in opposition of the increase to capital non-reoccurring for a few reasons. One, we're leaving out the equation of reevaluation. Okay, so to say it's 16 cents on the mill isn't telling the full story. Some people's evaluations went up quite a bit. I have one house that went up $30,000. So do the math. 33 times 30 is almost $1,000. In 1 year, I've already absorbed on my personal taxes to the town of Bethel. The other issue I have with this increase in the capital non-reoccurring account is I get paying down debt. I run a business. I've worked for a municipality for 23 years. I really understand it. The issue is we're doing it all at once. So we're coming into a reevaluation year where some of our taxes went up quite a bit. And now we're saying that we're going to stop using the credit card all at once. My personal feelings are, in the long run, this increase to the capital non-reoccurring account is going to have the opposite effect. And it's going to increase spending. Kind of like we just saw, and again, this is not a value judgment on the turf field. There's many arguments for it. There's many arguments against it. But we moved almost $750,000 worth of items into this new account we created, which was almost, correct me if I'm wrong, was almost $1 million on the first proposal. So we've moved these items out of capital into this capital non-reoccurring account to reduce our capital budget and stop using the credit card. Well, as soon as a new project came up that people wanted or didn't want, regardless, where did we put it? We actually put it back on the credit card, so now we have the original level of bonding that we were talking about at the start. Plus, we have the $750,000 in capital non-reoccurring. I don't see how that's controlling spending. Again, there's no value judgments on the projects, the necessity of them. I get it, okay? We need things in Bethel. But there's a gradual way to do it. And my personal feelings are, as a board, we should do a better job of managing debt and not saying that we're going to pay it down all at once, which, in fact, we don't do by voting for this because we've added to the capital account. Thank you.